back to our study through Isaiah. I hope that you've enjoyed it so far. If you were with us last week, we looked at a particular song that was in Isaiah chapter 14. It was a taunt song about the fall of Babylon, and we discussed how that represents the fall of the pride of the nations of this world when we try to elevate ourselves to be equivalent to God or even higher than God, how we're inevitably brought low. And really, as you're reading through the book of Isaiah, it can be easy to think that most of this book is about judgment and warning, and a lot of it is. But sprinkled throughout, because God wants us to be a people of hope, are these songs and these passages that give us that kind of hope. And that's what we're going to look at today. We're going to turn to Isaiah chapter 25, which is a song of praise to the Lord. And it begins like this: O Lord, you are my God. I will exalt you. I will give thanks to your name, for you have worked wonders, plans formed long ago with perfect faithfulness. And as the song goes on, you realize that this is not just Isaiah singing a praise song to God because he wants to. This is a song about God's plans for humanity, for all of humanity. If you go back to the book of Genesis, when God calls Abraham out of his homeland to go plant a new kind of people who would be God's people, who would ultimately include all of us, what he says is, I'm going to bless those who bless you, I will curse those who curse you, and through you, all the nations of the earth will be blessed. And it's in songs like what we see in Isaiah chapter 25 that we see how that vision that God has for blessing all of humanity gets pushed forward. So you see things like this. In verse 6, the Lord of hosts will prepare a lavish banquet for all people on his mountains, a banquet of aged wine, choice pieces with marrow and refined aged wine. And on his mountain he will swallow up the covering which is over all the peoples, even the veil which is stretched over all nations. And then words that, if you're familiar with the book of Revelation, you may think are first mentioned in that book, but they actually come from Isaiah. In verse 8 he says, he will swallow up death for all time, and the Lord will wipe away tears from all faces. This is a song of praise and comfort and hope. And it's a song for all people, not just for the nation of Israel, but for all people who are willing to look to the God of Israel, to look to the only God who actually exists, and to say, what you want is what I want, and who you are is what I want to be attached to. And so as we look through this song today, what I want you to see is that even in the midst of judgment, even in the midst of warnings, even in the midst of condemnation of sin, God always wants to bring to light the hope of restoration that can be found if we will just look toward his holy mountain and toward his face and believe in him and his promises. So I'll hand it off to your leaders now, and I hope you enjoy the lesson today.